I told myself I'd review Banjo-Tooie, come hell or high water. This was hell.
Gosh, what a great game Banjo-Kazooie was. The definitive 3D platformer, topping Mario 64 a mere 2 years after it came out and single-handedly redefined gaming. Surely a game this good has a ton of great sequels. Oh, well, surely it gets better if we... Oh my god.
It looks like the Banjo-Kazooie series is one that went from riches to rags, but this doesn't make sense to me. RareWare, specifically at this time, was one of the greatest developers in the industry. The N64 era was generational. I honestly can't see why this game would be anything short of great.
Banjo-Kazooie released on June 29th, 1998, and as we've already established, was a damn good game. This immediately prompted the development of a sequel, Banjo-Tooie. The mission for this sequel was simple. Take everything from Banjo-Kazooie and think bigger. More abilities, more playable characters, more gameplay shakeups, bigger worlds, more modes, and so on and so on. This dedication to adding new content is definitely admirable. Direct sequels these days don't add nearly as much new content. That said, Banjo-Kazooie was already a winning formula. Adding too much of anything to that could risk ruining it.
Foreshadowing, foreshadowing, foreshadowing!
In 2 short years, Banjo-Tooie was revealed at E3 2000 before releasing that fall. This quick development cycle can be attributed to RareWare's decision to reuse tons of assets from the first game. This is something I wish more games did. The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask and Super Mario Galaxy 2 are some of the finest sequels in the industry, and it's in large part because they made a new game with old assets. Banjo-Tooie was released on November 20th, 2000 for the Nintendo 64. The game scored a 73% on Metacritic and sold 1.5 million copies worldwide.
Now, unlike Banjo-Kazooie, which I played on Nintendo Switch Online, I actually own an original copy of Banjo-Tooie for the N64. I'm really excited to play this game, so let's waste no more time and pop it in. One of those days.
Holy shit, I do not recommend this game on original hardware. This game is gigantic, and that's really impressive. It's a game on the N64 that's available in widescreen. That's kind of insane, but when playing it, it chugs to high heaven. An easy alternative would be Rare Replay on Xbox. This remastered collection of old Rare games is often considered the definitive way to play either of the original 2 Banjo titles. One tidbit I love is that the game's cutscenes are synced up to music with the lag in mind, so when you play the remastered version without the lag, the music is all wrong.
Now, I have a strong aversion to remasters of games that make the audio out of sync with the cutscenes, and also Microsoft, so we're going to be playing this one on Nintendo Switch Online too.
Wasting no more time, Banjo-Tooie begins back in Spiral Mountain, where we see that Gruntilda is still stuck under that rock from the end of the last game.
I mean, yeah, she's dead. We killed her.
Suddenly, Gruntilda's 2 sisters, Mingella and Blobelda, arrive with their Hag 1 drilling machine to free Grunty from her rock.
Again, she's dead. I don't know why they're doing this.
Grunty rises from the rock and...
What did I say? But nobody f***ing listens to me. I swear to God, we could have saved so much time.
Next, we join our heroes Banjo, Kazooie, Mumbo, and Bottles, who are all enjoying a nice game of cards at Banjo's house. It's honestly really fun to get to see these characters in lighthearted scenarios like this. It really adds to the Saturday morning cartoon vibe that this franchise does so well, and... Gameplay begins as we chase after the Hag 1 through the hole they've dug into the mountains. I love this opening area where you get to explore a destroyed Spiral Mountain. You can even go into Grunty's lair, although it's very small. This is probably where you'll discover that you still have all the moves you learned in the first game. Games nowadays need to start doing this again. I am so sick of re-unlocking the same abilities in every game. What's cool about this is that it means we're going to unlock nothing but new abilities for the entire adventure. adventure. As we follow the Hag 1, we enter a cave system and battle Grunty's assistant, Klungo. There's a ton of well-designed bosses in this game. Klungo isn't one of them. We beat Klungo before reaching our new hub world, the Isle o' Hags.
Ooh, I hope it's needlessly big and full of areas you only explore once.
It's needlessly big and full of areas you'll only explore once. But that's not really a big deal. It's not hard to find your way around, which certainly can't be said for Gruntilda's lair in the first game, and it's populated with actual locations and people. I've got to give a shout out to my boy King Jingling, king of the Jinjos. I love how he's just a super chill dude and... Grunty's new master plan is to use her sister's weapon, the Big O Blaster, to steal the life force from everyone on the Isle o' Hags so she can bring herself back to life. This is a good time to mention the tone of this game. It's still totally ridiculous, but I feel like it's notably a couple of shades darker than the first game. There's less bright and whimsical environments, and since Grunty decided to stop speaking in rhymes, she feels more like an actual evil antagonist this time around. Unlocking levels is different this time too. You meet with King Jiggy Wiggy, I'm getting really tired of saying these names, and play this puzzle piece minigame to unlock new areas. I really loved these. They weren't too complicated and were a ton of fun. Hopping into the first level and...
You're f***ing with me, right?
The core gameplay is exactly the same as the first game. Banjo and Kazooie navigate different worlds to collect jiggies, music notes, Jinjos, honeycomb pieces, and cheat codes. That said, there are a couple of changes in how you collect some of them. There's still 5 Jinjos to find in every world, but now you're only rewarded with jiggies for finding every Jinjo of a certain color, so you'll be making trips to multiple worlds to find them all. Another change is the music notes. One of the biggest challenges of the first game was finding all 100 in every level. This time, however, they're mostly a part of these music note bunches which contain more than one music note. This means they're much less spread out, which is kind of a bummer. It feels like the developers didn't put as much time and effort into spreading them around these maps. Since Bottles is dead now, his brother Sergeant Jamjar has taken his place in giving us new abilities. Jamjar is a great new character who fits right in with the established cast from the first game. He talks entirely in rhymes, which feels like a consolation prize for Grunty hanging it up. Some of this game's new abilities feel pretty in line with what we've unlocked in the first game, but others feel totally fresh. There's of course the new elemental eggs that Kazooie can fire. There's fire, ice, grenade, and even robot eggs that you now have access to. I largely enjoy all of these, but I'm not crazy about the grenade egg. It's kind of a lazy puzzle-solving tool. Oh, how do I get past here? Blow up the wall, probably. The main new mechanic on display here is the ability to separate Banjo and Kazooie from one another and control them on their own. Each plays about how you'd expect them to, and both can unlock solo-specific abilities to better traverse the areas. I want to love this mechanic, but in practice there's too much backtracking to go and find your missing half that it's not always fun. I think the developers were just running out of ideas for new abilities with the two together. Now, I can't discuss the new abilities without mentioning the shooter segments.
Wait, I'm sorry, I thought this was a game about a cartoon bear and a...
Yup, that's right. There's first-person shooting in this game. About once per world, Banjo will use Kazooie as a gun in these shooter sections. They're honestly pretty fun, if a little stressful. The N64 shooter controls haven't aged the best, but it doesn't take too long to get adjusted to them. These sections were definitely inspired by Rare's extremely popular shooter titles on the N64, most notably GoldenEye 007. I just never expected one in a Banjo-Kazooie game. One of the first challenges you face in these segments is actually a boss fight. Yeah, hope you got well adjusted to those controls, pal, because this guy does not let up. The bosses in this game are all really solid, a definite upgrade from the first game where they mostly just felt like normal enemies with more health. Shout out to Mr. Patch for being my favorite, and Lord Woo Fack for having a stupid name.
Unfortunately, this is kind of where my praises for this game end. Now, there are other redeeming qualities that I'll be sure to mention along the way, but I really don't think I can keep talking about this game without mentioning its biggest problem.
Backtracking. Oh, what a fun word. In Metroid, it's a good thing. In Banjo, it makes me want to explode. The world sizes are all ridiculously big this time around, much bigger than anything from the first game, and honestly, they're probably bigger than most of the ones in Super Mario Sunshine. But where that game and something like Super Mario Odyssey felt built for bigger sandboxes, this game does not at all. These areas take forever to trudge through, and the newly added fast travel system doesn't do that much to alleviate the tedium. The locations of jiggies are a lot less obvious in this game, so on a first playthrough, you're very likely to just run around aimlessly for an hour before accomplishing anything substantial. I've heard some people say that this game doesn't have a backtracking problem, and that if you do know what you're doing, you won't have to backtrack that much at all. This just isn't true. You see, on top of all the new things Banjo and Kazooie can do in this game, there's a new playable character, Mumbo. To change into Mumbo, you have to go to his hut. To turn back into Banjo and Kazooie, you have to go back to Mumbo's hut. Mumbo moves extremely slowly, so be prepared for a very long stroll both ways.
At the end of the day, this could be forgivable, so long as Mumbo's really fun to play as.
Mumbo is not really fun to play as. All he can do is walk slowly and activate environmental changes at specific Mumbo pads. If you want to do anything at these pads after Mumbo activates them, you'll have to go back and change into Banjo. Unlike the first game, these worlds are all impossible to complete in one run, since you'll need to unlock certain abilities from later areas to get certain jiggies. Again, Super Mario Sunshine did this too, but going back and forth from levels in that game is super fast, and that game didn't train me to assume the ability I need is hidden somewhere in the level. On top of all of this, transformations are back. Since Mumbo is playable now, you'll access these transformations by meeting with Humba Wumba. Transformations work the same way in this game, although returning to Humba Wumba's house to turn back is a lot more annoying since, again, the maps are way bigger than they need to be.
So far, I've talked a lot about this game's level design, but I haven't talked about the worlds specifically.
First up is Mayhem Temple, one of the more inoffensive worlds, but a definite step down from almost everything from the first game. It's purely the scale of this world that's a problem. Maybe in an updated engine with better movement speed, this one wouldn't be too bad. I don't know. Glitter Gulch Mine looks a lot smaller than Mayhem Temple, but don't let that fool you. Navigating this place is so much worse. Every area looks exactly the same, so it's hard to figure out where you want to go. A world that struggles even more in that regard is Grunty Industries. This is the Rusty Bucket Bay of this game, except it's so much worse.
That is literally the worst sentence I have ever said. I need another shower.
4 massive different floors to explore that all look the exact same. But don't worry, getting from floor to floor is a massive pain in the ass too.
It's just what I've always wanted.
One world that people love to give credit to is Witchy World. Honestly, I'd love to praise this world as it's my favorite one, but it's still a chore to navigate compared to almost anything from the first game. What Witchy World has over the other worlds is that each section looks very distinct from one another, so you're never gonna feel lost. Each world has mini-games that shake up the gameplay. Witchy World by far has the most. They range from a game of kickball at the Mayhem Temple to flying shooter segments in Witchy World. I don't love these and found the ones in Witchy World specifically irritating, but when you find one, you at least know how you're gonna get the next jiggy.
I think the most frustrating thing about this game is that it's almost a perfect sequel. The new characters, the new worlds, the new abilities, on paper, they're all perfect. Rare just got too ambitious with this game. I gotta say though, it's pretty uncommon that a game has flaws because the developers had too many ideas. I applaud Rare for wanting to make this the biggest game ever, whereas today sequels are doing the bare minimum.
This game was so ambitious that it has 2 unfinished modes that were canceled before the game could be released. There was going to be a multiplayer mode called Bottle's Revenge where you could play as Bottle's ghost. I'm really bummed this was never finished as it looks like a ton of fun. The second one is of course Stop and Swap. The idea being you could cross over your data from Banjo-Kazooie to Banjo-Tooie by quickly swapping the cartridges in your N64. This was scrapped due to hardware limitations.
Why wasn't the whole game scrapped then? My N64 is in a coma.
Obviously, I did not 100% this one either. While I'm more than willing to go clear out Rusty Bucket Bay eventually, I don't see myself playing this one again. Luckily, you don't need to collect everything to unlock the final boss in this one. Once you have enough jiggies, you make your way to...
Wait, this one isn't that bad. It's more of a quiz show than anything else, but I don't have a lot to say about it. Grunty straight up murders her sister during this game.
They're fine, I guess.
Once you beat Grunty's game, it's time for the final battle. Banjo and Kazooie versus Grunty and the Hag 1.
Grunty killed her sisters and then stole their car? It's cold-blooded.
I gotta say, I really like this as the final obstacle. The Hag 1 destroyed Spiral Mountain, so it definitely left an impression on the players, and it wouldn't make sense to have a traditional fight against Grunty again. Whereas the final battle in the first game had you use all the skills you acquired over your playthrough, this one is pretty lame. You just dodge some attacks, answer more quiz questions, and then shoot grenades in her face.
I'm not sure how I would have gone about a boss fight where you fight a witch and a giant drill, but I don't think this was the way to go.
We beat Gruntilda and peace is restored to the ILO Hags. Bottles is even brought back to life. Good thing too, we met his family at the start of the adventure and we told them that he was alive. I don't know why we did that, but it worked out.
And that marks the end of Banjo-Tooie. Let me be clear, this is not a bad game. There's so much charm and there are so many great ideas on display here. Much of what I love about the first game is still here. It just feels like whenever Rare took one step forward, they took 2 steps back. I'd love to see this game get a remake alongside the first game. It would be a great way to test the waters to see if fans are interested in maybe more Banjo-Kazooie games, as well as ironing out a lot of the problems that this game has. There's a very good version of this game somewhere out in the universe, and I'd love to give it a shot. But until then, at least it's not Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts. Ha ha!